to HyzerMedia's coverage of the Birdie Presents SoVi MAYhem from South Vineland Park in South Vineland, New Jersey. This tournament and coverage is sponsored by Birdie Disc Golf Supply. Also brought to you in part by all of our Patreon members. Thank you to all of them, and thank you to you for joining us on the back nine of the first round at this tournament. I'm Dave Oster, here to bring you the coverage. Starting off on hole 10, par 4, 500 feet, got across the water and then get up into the woods here, and maybe another 200 feet from where the drone is flying to find the basket perched on a little bit of a hillside. Water carry is a little bit less of a challenge these days. The lake that we play around is very variable in the water level, lower more recently, but still certainly a obstacle to have to throw over. And we see Jacob starting off. First, a pretty much perfect shot, gets up into the woods, depending on exactly where he lands. Probably a good approach for his second throw. And Joey Bruno going with the forehand. Maybe was hoping to flex that out back towards the basket a little bit more, but looks like he passed the road where you're looking to land your disc to have a clean look at your second throw. Evan Boyle looks like he got caught up in that stuff early. Oh, and Caleb looks like he slipped on the tee, but still got pretty far up there. He may have a backdoor look at it. So Evan not in a bad spot. Oh, beautiful throw. Actually goes a little bit past the basket, but should have a fine look for his first birdie of the round, believe it or not. And Jacob a little, oh, I was going to say a little inside, but that branch redirected him just enough that he should be right at the bottom of that little hill, right next to the basket. And Joey did go quite far. Oh, and probably did not have much looking towards the basket there as he gets caught up maybe 20 feet in front of where he just was standing. And Caleb caught something, but I think he might still be up by the green. Not as close as he could be. Oh, and a beautiful, unfortunate third shot for Joey, but he'll be able to save the par. Oh, Caleb was further away than I thought and got caught up on these couple trees he's standing right next to now. And unable to save the par, but he did stay right next to the basket. And Evan is on the board. It took him 10 holes, but there you go. He knows that he's not having the best round of his life, but still certainly having fun out there, smiling nonetheless. So Joey taps in his par, and Jacob has the opportunity to tap in his birdie. Or not quite tap in, but has a putt for his birdie, and he makes it. So back under par, and surprisingly, we have seen lots of up and downs. And now Jacob is again the only one under par. Joey was the only one under par for a while, but still a round and a half left in this tournament as we move over to hole 11, par 3, 158 feet, easily the shortest hole on the course. A forehand, maybe a backhand turnover line. The goal is to get up on top of the hill that we're looking at. You can skip up here like Jacob, but that is the one thing you have to worry about if you're playing the skip shot, is there are a couple of tiered logs, maybe retaining wall-esque, that are preventing skips from getting all the way up there, but he's close enough that he'll have a look. And speaking of looks, it looks like Evan will have his second birdie in a row as he is right under the basket. And Joey is the, oh, and huge flare skip. These guys are just hunting for Catch Cam Wendy today with their discs, but luckily does not catch her. And he is in the circle as well as Caleb. So everybody's going to have somewhat of a look for the birdie, which you would expect on this hole. Oh, just a bit off for Jacob. As well as Joey, just a bit low. Oh, and also just a bit off. And Evan there again with the birdie, only one of the group. And he now has 2 in a row. As the rest of these guys tap in their pars. That hole was playing as the 4th easiest over a quarter stroke under par, but that doesn't mean everybody gets it. As we move on to one of the very hardest holes on the course, hole 12, par 3, 334 feet, tight gap, and then a drop off that these guys are trying to get over, and then trying to find a gap up the hill on the other side to a basket that is mere feet from another drop off with water at the bottom. So a lot of challenges on this hole, and we'll see how these players can tackle it. And looked like Evan got caught up. Something on the right side dropped down. That's where a lot of players are going to wind up, is the bottom of the valley, trying to play back up top. If they make that initial gap, that's also a common result, is catching one of these early trees and kicking either left or right. Neither is quite preferable. And no surprise, Joey going with the forehand. There is a lot of room to the left. Turning catch cam Wendy around, and that is right next to the basket. Unbelievable forehand. Certainly took us off guard on a route that we quite weren't prepared for. Somehow got all the way up there. That was an incredible shot by Joey. Caleb, unfortunately, kisses that first tree and just does not let the disc go much further than that. Oh, that needed to sit. I think it did pretty much there, but that was behind the basket. So from way out of position, Jacob also with a very good shot to get from where he was all the way past the pin. We'll see what putt he actually has left. As Caleb and Evan are struggling to get up onto this second tier. Both of them now on their 3rd shots, so Evan is there for his bogey, and this is to save the par for Evan. Oh, and had the height. That needs to sit. I think it did. Right by that tree. And Jacob did go pretty far down. Oh, and almost throws the forehand and catches that last little tree. Evan now has a putt through the jail cell, but makes it. Fortunate to save the bogey even from that spot. And we finally see where Joey's drive landed. You could not walk up and put your disc much closer than that, let alone throw it on this hole. The hardest hole in the course by far, playing an entire stroke over to par. The only birdie on the day was by Joey Bruno. So congrats to him as we move over to a much easier hole, hole 13, par 3, 211 feet. A lot of players call this the ace run hole for obvious reasons. Short and pretty much just got to hit the line to get there. Jacob pretty close to the pin. Caleb catching early tree on the right side, so he'll have once you're at the bottom, you're pretty much going to have a blind shot unless you're pretty far back. Oh, excuse me. There, that was Jacob. I missed the call in the first shot. I apologize. And Caleb also not able to get up top. So 3 of these guys are going to be down below. And I was saying, like, Joey back a little bit further, he could actually see the top of the basket, and we can see him. And I believe this is Evan, where we can't even see him, and he still hits the basket, almost getting the birdie. But unfortunately, he's going to have to settle for the par. And Caleb just peeking his head over the top, being able to see the basket. So certainly, if you're down there, difficult hole. But in terms of scoring, it's pretty much birdie or par. You have to do something pretty crazy to not be able to get the birdie. At least the par. If you get a bogey, you know, something went wrong. But good drive by Jacob to get the birdie. And we move over to hole 14, another water carry hole. Like I said, a little bit lower water level than we see in the drone shot here, but it's a par 3, 276 feet. One of the challenges is that the tee pad is so much higher than the basket, and there's a low ceiling once you get near the basket, left or right. So you have to really pure it. And Jacob, oh, that looked like it was going right towards the basket, and that actually skipped over that hill. So I'm not quite sure what's back there, but his disc is not within the viewing area of the basket anymore, so Joey turning it over on that left side. I think he did stay inbounds. We didn't see the OB graphic pop up, so he should be alright. Oh, and very high, a big wind lift and then drop for Evan. I think he's up on the hillside on the right. If you've seen previous tournaments, we had the tournament director, Bill DiBiase, have a very similar shot with the air bounce up and down, but absolutely parked it. So we'll have to see where that one ends up. And Caleb with less of the airplay, but gets just about as close as the other shot I was talking about. So good shot for him. Joey just having to pitch up. And this is the reverse angle of where Jacob is. I'm pretty sure maybe he could see the top of the band, probably not. So, and he'll still have a little bit of a putt. So here's Jacob to save his par after almost ringing up the ace. Oh, we've seen quite a few of those this round. If you haven't watched the front 9, you saw probably 5 or 6 of those from a lot of these players. Just a chain link or two too far left or right. Otherwise, we would have had a much different looking scorecard. These guys finish up, and we'll move over to hole 15, par 4, 485 feet. We saw the drone flying from the short pad, but they're playing from the long pad. So thrown around the corner, and then from what we saw, there's a pretty tight line all the way through to the open field where the sand starts and opens up a little bit. And that was pretty much an ideal drive for Caleb. Being a par 4, you just really want to get around the corner and have a shot for your second throw. And Joey looked like he was going for a lot, goes a little too high, gets caught up, and falls down right at the corner, so he shouldn't be too far out of position. And Evan goes pretty straight off the tee. There is some gaps on that left side, but you really kind of get lucky. Got to get lucky to find one. And that's actually just fine. Probably better off hitting that tree and not going over where Joey and Evan were. As you can see, there's a lot more airspace, and Jacob is left side, but he is probably circle's edge. He's up on a green for sure. You see that Joey's got a tomahawk line that he's going for and gets caught up on a tree. Evan, similar spot, going with the forehand. Maybe getting caught up in the same tree. Those two guys are in a very similar spot. And now, so Caleb, catches an early tree. He was in the best position of the group, but maybe just missed the execution of the shot. And now he has the forehand line, but it's caught up on another tree. So once he throws this in, he's looking at a bogey here. And smart play, limit the damage, just get it near the pin. Not a bad run. Evan looked like maybe giving it a little bit of a scare. This is Jacob over on the right side with the, I believe that was throwing a turbo putt over those short little pines. Trying to go for the birdie. Gonna have to settle for the par. Just like Joey and I believe Evan. Caleb, unfortunately catching a couple trees. Going to be settling for the bogey. So as Jacob comes and cleans up, he will be heading over to hole 16, playing from the long tee position. 423 foot par 3. As long as you hit this pretty wide gap off the beginning of this hole, you pretty much have to throw something flat that will finish to the left if you're throwing a backhand, or if you're Joey Bruno, you're going to throw a forehand roller. That makes no sense, right? Not for most of us normal disc golfers, but certainly if you have the potential to throw 400-foot forehand rollers, why not try it? He went up just a little bit left side. He kind of fought through, so he might have a look. And Evan burned it over a little bit, so got out the gap. He's definitely not obstructed, but he'll have still a pretty long approach to save his par. Jacob also going with the forehand roller, a little bit more cut angle. Looks like it might have caught something, started kind of bouncing up and down. So he's going to be similar side to Joey, probably 20-30 feet shorter, maybe more. Oh, and Caleb grip locked it a little bit. I believe that fell down. Yes, it did. And he actually got through that stuff. So on a knee under a branch, but at least he's standing in the grass. Obviously, that's a big thicket of stuff that he could have gotten stuck in, and still leaves a little short. So he'll have a long putt just to save his par. Everyone out in the open just needs to execute a little 120, 150 foot up shot. And catches the tree and puts him perfectly down for a par save. And for a second there, it looked like Jacob was trying to ring it up for the birdie from probably 100 feet away. A little short. And, ooh. Caleb also giving the run. That was to save his par. And this is Joey. Lean out forehand is the only thing he had left, but distance-wise, he probably had no more than 50, 60 feet. So it almost worked. The forehand roller almost worked. And Caleb's still a little bit of work for the bogey. Alright, does make it. So Jacob and Joey just having to clean up as we will move over to hole 17. Hole 17 is par 3, 335 feet. Have to probably go under that leaning tree. Some shots that go over can still make it all the way there. And playing to a longer pin position than we're looking at here. It's actually probably an 8-foot pole and much further down the hill that the basket is sitting on, as we'll see as these players get closer to the green. Leads for an interesting decision as you get closer to the green. As you see Evan just let go a little bit early, catching that first tree. Once you get up to the green, if you aren't all the way down, you're pretty much even with the basket. But if you miss, the ground is probably 10 feet away from you. And there is water behind. So these players will have a decision, as we'll see. And Jacob throwing down a forehand roller and looks absolutely beautiful. That looks to be about where the old pin position was. So he'll have exactly that decision that we were talking about. And Caleb going above that leaning tree and hyzering over to the right side. We'll see what he has from there. See the details of our Patreon. We mentioned it in the front 9 if you'd like to support us or gain access to exclusive content, monthly disc giveaways, and even some HyzerMedia merch. You can go check us out at patreon.com/HyzerMedia. And we see Evan lining up this long third shot. And he almost rings it up from 70 or so feet. And there's a perfect little floaty bid that looked like it probably just fell straight down even after he got up there. And that was the decision I was talking about that Caleb had. A little bit too long for him to run, but it's so far down, and here we get a good look at it. He just tries to get over the crest of the hill, and I believe that was Joey as well. Just getting it down there, not really willing to try it. Now Jacob being a little closer. Looks like he's going for it, and he almost makes it as well. Oh, and he thought he had it too. He was running for it. Fortunately, they stayed close. But that's what I was saying. If you miss completely, that water is not too far away. It's pretty low right now, but it can get closer than that. So playing the conditions correctly, these players, obviously hitting metal helps. If you make it in the basket, that's great, but able to save the par at least. Jacob was. Evan, little ode to Calvin Heimberg, but we'll move on to hole 18. Par 5, 820 feet. This is actually the old long tee pad. A lot of work has been done to this course, like I mentioned. The front 9, Sidebirds and the town doing a great job. Water level much lower. All of these trees were now out of the water and cleared out. So the tee pad is along the shoreline to the right of the original tee pad. As we get a look at it here, and the play is basically usually a backhand to Hyzer over to the left side after going along the side. Oh, and Joe falls down. He fell hard. I hope he's all right. And still gets it way out there. So obviously new tee pad location. Looks like we still need to finish upgrading to match the rest of the tee pad materials. And Jacob going with the normal play of the just throw the backhand out there. Make sure you don't put it in the water. Caleb as well, but Joey throwing a monster forehand even with falling. Gets it way out there. And we'll see that as Evan lines up the same as play as the other three. Little tight, but it does get a little flip. Oh yeah, that's exactly what you're looking for. Getting it way out there. Probably even with that tree that we're looking at that Caleb's throwing to the left of. So he may be able to set up a second shot throwing over the fence potentially, where a lot of players are probably trying to set up their third shot for that. So Joey looks alright, no harm, no foul. See how far out he is to maybe potentially go over the fence. Looks like it turned, oh, that needs to sit. Oh, and barely curls up in time. That was strange reaction in the air the disc had. I don't know if there was a tailwind or left or right or something that really just drove that into the ground. Oh, and Evan hits the fence, and he's on the other side. This is a par 5, and he's there in 2. That might be edge of circle for an eagle, while the rest of these guys are throwing over the fence on their third. Oh, and Caleb with an incredible shot. He's 15, maybe 18 feet for the birdie. And Jacob is even closer than that for the birdie. So fortunate to still be in bounds. Joey has a pretty close upshot. He's parked for par, and this is for eagle. Nails it. It's in there. Very nice. Evan not having the round that I'm sure he liked, but putting an asterisk or an exclamation point at the end of it. That was a great way to play the hole. And with Caleb making that putt, the rest of these guys are pretty close. We're going to have the first star frame, and shout out to a other media company's commentator for coining the term a galaxy frame that we just saw. So pretty exciting finish to this round. There's still an entire another round to go. Thank you all for joining me for this first round. A lot of exciting things happening. Scores obviously weren't as low as you may expect for this card, but we do have a lead card for the second round. Alex Nicosia with the hot round, 6 down, 1,000 rated round. Jason Tiligadas, who's been on coverage many times before, as well as tournament director Bill DiBiase and Joey Bruno coming back on our card, and I hope you will as well. Coverage of the final round will be out on Friday. If you're watching this today, it will be tomorrow, and I hope you will join us. We will see you on the next hole.